Hello, guys. My name is Bruno, and welcome to IB Tips and Chips. Today, we're gonna be talking about something every IB student has to deal with, and these are languages. Language A, Language B, Ab initio, Paper 1, Paper 2, the oral exam, the HL exam. Yes, a lot of things. It sounds like an alphabet soup, but once you understand how each part works, everything becomes way easier. So, in this video, I'm going to explain what each language level is, what exams you'll take, and how to study for them. And most importantly, how to make languages the least stressful part of your IB. So, as we mentioned before, we have language A, language B, and Ab initio, and these languages are are gonna have a different, like, they're gonna have different levels between each other. So language A is it's for a native or near native speakers. It's not about speaking the language, it's about analyzing literature. You will work with novels, plays, poems, techniques, style, context, symbolism, all of that. It's the most analytical and the most demanding. Then we have language B, which is something in the middle, and it's more for like advanced learners. Um, the focus is communication. They have different IB themes, text, vocabulary, structure, and real world language use. And then we have Ab initio. Ab initio is for beginners. You start from zero, introducing yourself, ordering food, describing your house, talking about your daily routine. It's the most accessible. Let's just say it like that. So in your mind, it has to be like this. Well, if you haven't taken any Cambridge exams, you would know these levels of languages. But ab initio, it would be like an A1, A2 level on Cambridge. Then language B will be a bit between first, like B2 and a C1, something like advanced, something over there. And then on language A, it's just native speakers. So on language, like, these languages don't have a specific topic. So they don't have a specific knowledge. It's just like two things you have to know about, like the format, the themes, and all of that. So we're just gonna skip all of this. Um, so um, there are different papers for each other. But all of them are gonna have paper one, a paper two, a oral exam, and a HL essay. This high level essay is only for high level. I don't know if you guys don't have a language A. I think it's meant that, like, the IB forces you to do a language A. But if you don't and you do a language on high level, I don't know if that would be your high level essay though, because normally it's for language A. Um, in my scenario, I took the three of the languages, so I'm quite an expert in here. And they've only asked me a HL essay on the language A. So, well, first of all, we're gonna go with the different formats of the papers. So in language A, you analyze a non-literary text. You're gonna have two, like, if you're a language A standard level, you're gonna have two options, and you can choose between one or another, and you would have an hour and 30 minutes. But if you're on language A high level, you have to compare two of the non-literary text. In my school, they had a Spanish literature, which is only about books. Um, like, you don't have any non-literary text. So, in that scenario, you would have to compare two different texts, like two different literary texts, like a part of a quote, like a phrase of a book or something. But if you're a language and literature, you would have a non literary text in these situations. What the examiner is really looking for is a strong analysis of the author choices and the facts, not a summary, not description. You can also use the description and then asking you questions during this essays. Um, so, like, it looks like you're analyzing, but don't focus on describing the images. Then we have language B. In language B, well, sorry guys, language B and ab initio is all wrong. It's not a reading comprehension. You're gonna have that on paper 2, but on paper 1, it's a writing. And in language B, there's a difference between high level and standard level. On language B, on the writing, they're gonna give you different options. They're gonna give you different problems, and throughout, like, for example, you are a school counselor and the students are asking you to improve this. You have to talk with the superiors, like the director, the principal, and you have to like write something to express your idea. That will be, for example, a proposal. I mean, they're gonna give you 3 options. For example, like article, letter, or a proposal. And you would have to be choosing an option between the 3 of them. I mean, that's what normally it would be on language B and ab initio, but the format, like how much you have to write, is different on these 2 levels. So in language B high level, you will be writing like from 450 words to 600 words. You would say, what I'm gonna be writing on 600 words? You have plenty of things to write. Like it's gonna go really quick. And on language B standard level, you're gonna go from 200 words to 450 words. That's like after the 2 years of IB, I take a hour to do 600 words, and I take 30 minutes of doing 400 or 300, something like that. So like it looks a lot, but it's actually not a lot. And then on ab initio is the same thing, the same format as language B. The only thing is they're gonna ask you to understand like key info and write simple, like accurate sentence. And they should be from 60 words to 150 words. So you're gonna like ab initio it's really easy. Let's just say it like that. A tip: paper 1 rewards structure. Know what the task experts before you start writing. So we have language paper 2. So on paper 2 on language A, you're gonna be writing a comparative essay on the literary works you study at your school. So in my case, we study 6 different books, which I think we haven't used 2 of them, but it's alright. In here you have to choose between 2 or 3 options of books that are kind of related to each other. Like they have the same plot and they have the same context. Maybe not. I would recommend doing 2 books that have the same plot, because you have to compare. You have to do a comparative essay, and you can compare the different plots, but you also can contrast it, how this was written, how the message is different from this book to this book. So you have to analyze. You have to do the same thing as on paper 1 on language A, but in this case it has to be about the books, and it can be about the plot in general. It doesn't have to be about a article or a thingy. They're gonna give you 4 different questions about like between 2 books you've read on your classes. What are your thoughts about the different characters being like the difference between a good and bad, and how does this influence the audience? For example, let's just say like that. So yeah, that's basically gonna be your like, for example, that could be your question, and then you have to analyze that and use a different and say the different techniques, like the technique of the symbols that appear on this book are different from the other book. So blah blah blah. Let's like as soon as you yap with that makes sense, I think you're okay with it. Then language B and ab initio. In here, you're gonna have 2 papers for each language, because this paper is divided into 2. On language, I mean, it's gonna be divided on reading and listening. Listening, bro, I'm gonna tell you, this is the easiest exam you're gonna have, especially on Ab Initio, because it's not even an hour long. So on language B, on the reading, they're gonna give you three different articles or three different points of view, or not. I mean, no, three different types of text, and then you have to answer the questions that I have for each text. For example, they give you text one, you have to answer the things for text one. Yeah. Most of the time, you can use quotes from the actual reading, so it's easier for you. So you don't have to think about an answer. But careful because of that, um, because um, they're not gonna accept a full paragraph of words. They only are gonna accept a phrase. And that's like they can get points out of you if you put one more word. So be careful with that. You'll also be practicing this with your teachers. So I mean, totally chill. Same with listening. Um, and in Abenitas, like it's literally the same thing. The only thing that changes is that the texts are easier to understand and the listening is easier to understand. Like it's appropriate to the level, and that's it. Um, and then we have the individual oral exams. This, in my opinion, was the hardest thing to do on each language. But because we had to do this before February on DP2, and just thinking about me that I haven't done the mocks yet, and I haven't finished my internals, and I have to do this, which is official. So like you're gonna be scared, especially on language A. Because of language B and language Abinitio, like Abinitio is really simple. Sorry guys. um, so on language A, you're gonna be giving two different books. Both of like the three of the oral exams, you're gonna have 15 minutes, but it's spread in a different way. So on language A, you're gonna be talking about 5 minutes of a book, another 5 minutes of another book, and then you have 10 minutes of questions about general topics that you've discussed. Um, General questions like how does this characters like things questions that are going to help you to improve your oral exam, because the supervisor is going to be somebody like a teacher. It's mostly going to be your teacher. And this is actually really good because you can I think you can only show her once what's your plan. And I don't know. I actually don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Sorry, I'm not a supervisor. So you're gonna be talking about for 5 minutes for a novel, for like a book that you want to choose. Um, you have to talk about the author, the context of the book, what happens in the book, what is your message, what do you think. Um, I mean, well, sorry guys, you have to plan a question at the beginning of the oral exam, um, and then you're gonna be answering that question with the books that you've read. You're gonna be 5 minutes on each one, showing examples, showing like the symbols, techniques, everything, um, and then like on these two different books, and they're gonna ask you questions, so they improve your oral exam because the IB knows that you're gonna be very nervous. It's also a really hard time because you have to send all your internals. Um, so they know that these question banks, it's actually gonna get easier for you. Then we have language B, which you have to be talking. There's a difference between standard level and high level in this situation. On standard level, you have to talk about a picture, and that the supervisor chooses. And then on high level, you're gonna have two different extracts from two different books that you've read during this IB years. Um, you're gonna choose one of them, and you're gonna start analyzing what does this appear and what is the message. You're just gonna analyze. You have from 3 to 4 minutes to express all of your ideas. Then you would have around 5 minutes of questions about the book itself, the plot, and how does this effect on have an effect on the audience, and then you would have the rest of the time left to general questions like global issues and show your own opinion, like a bit of improvising over there. And then on Abenitio, it's sort of going to be the same thing. They're going to give you a image. You have to analyze the image. What is this, like the IB theme that they have? Analyze the picture for around 2-3 minutes, and then you're gonna have another 7 minutes on the actual, like she's gonna ask you a general topic that it's related to the image, and then well, beforehand you have to choose a topic that you would like to actually talk about. On French Amanitio, I chose I think it was sports, and the rest of the time on the speaking, after you've done all the questions and all, like analyzing the image, you're just gonna have time for like she's gonna ask you some questions, like the supervisor is gonna ask you some questions, and you just have to answer fluently, and that's basically it. A tip: orals feel scary until you realize they're basically a practice structure. You can practice this at your house with your parents, and it's actually quite easy. But I mean, yeah, obviously you get nervous, especially on language A. Then we have the HLSA. The HLSA, it's more like a internal assessment. You have to treat it like a paper one analysis, and you have around 100 200 words to 1,200 words to 1,500 words. And here you have to talk about a literary or non-literary work, and it requires deep analysis, a clear structure, and a strong argumentation. This is easier than paper 2, but because you have time to organize this and write this properly, you don't have that pressure of an hour or something like that. It's like an internal assessment. You have to send it, but they'll give you the deadline, like whatever the school says. And what I would recommend is at the beginning of DP2, start doing it, or at the end of DP1, or during the summer, because with all the internals, with all like with all what's happening on the first semester of the P2, you're actually like are gonna be very stressful, like very stressed, and you're gonna have the IB exams next to it. So just prepare as soon as possible for this, um yeah. But how to make languages the least important part of the IB? So learn techniques like Pokemon cards, basically. Build like a reliable deck, like tone, imaginary, and like you can spot fast and naming clearly, you know? Avoid this. Plot summary retelling what happens doesn't show you how the writers create meaning, you know? That's describing, and you have to analyze, which is, yeah, really, really hard, actually. Um, then yeah, language B, as I said, it in my opinion, a tip for this would be a like practice, just practice. I haven't done any theory. I didn't need it because sorry guys, I'm very fluent at languages. Um, I didn't need to actually like study only for the book, only for knowing the books and only for the oral exam. But in this, like practice makes perfect, I think. Then and then like for studying Avenitio, in my scenario, I have a B1 on French, and the class was in A2, so I didn't actually pay attention, and um, I actually didn't really care about the class because either way, I got sixes and sevens, if you get what I'm saying. um, but apart from that, like yeah, you have past papers on different websites, and that's actually really useful. And yeah, I that's everything it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video helped. And make sure to like this video and subscribe to IB Tips and Chips if you want more tips in your chips. Goodbye, y'all.